I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We're live in 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, listen up. We are going to talk about walleye and muskies today.
This is going to be a great subject because, I mean, obviously in the South, we love fisheries and fishes. There's a fish hatchery just north of here in Tupelo that's been there, I guess, my whole life.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a national fish hatchery there. But I have completely no earthly idea about walleye and muskies.
No.
Muskellunges.
Is that what they're called?
Well, Dudley, you were looking that up. Muskellunge.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask our guest, but I don't think everybody refers to them as muskies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Not.
Right. It's kind of like a nickname sort of thing. Like Muskellunges are like full name. It's like how I go by Jen, even though my full name's Genevieve. So Muskie's just, easier to say, on the draw. So
Well,
I think it is a pretty common term. Most people would know what a muskie is if they know what, if they're a fisherman or
Yeah.
anything.
I think she's exactly
I've never
right.
heard the long term.
So let me get our guests introduced. We've got two folks here today. So we have got this young lady. She is known as the Walleye Mama.
The mother of walleye.
And she manages the St. Paul Fish Hatchery for the Minnesota DNR, raised millions of juvenile walleye muskies and tiger muskies.
Tiger muskies.
So, Genevieve Furtner, welcome.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Glad to have you.
Yeah.
What a name, Genevieve. Have you ever heard?
Dudley said he knew a Genevieve growing up.
I grew up with a Genevieve.
I
me.
personally haven't. This is the first one I've met.
Is this a family name you got burdened with?
No, my parents just really like the name, and actually they found that name before the birth of my elder sister, but they thought it was too crazy of a name to give the firstborn daughter. So the secondborn got it, and that was me.
Well, that's appropriate.
So what's your sister's name?
Christine.
Christine and Genevieve. Yeah.
Well, when you were little, Genevieve had to be hard to learn to spell.
Oh yeah, I didn't know how to spell Genevieve till I was 8.
That's awesome.
I went by Jenny growing up.
There you go.
Well, that kind of like muskie, It's,
Yeah.
So, well,
Awesome.
look, this is a special treat too. We've got Todd Amenrud, and he lives in Minnesota.
He does. And he is the editor of our Gamekeeper magazine. He does a phenomenal job.
He does. He
each
doesn't get
month.
enough credit for that, but he
Yes,
does.
And, Todd, you make it explain further, but you come from a fishing family. I would
100%.
even say professional, right?
Oh, absolutely. My dad was a professional for since I was a little boy, probably 8, 10 years old. He's in both the National Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame and the Minnesota Fishing Hall of Fame. And I used to do it as a job. I worked for him and another Hall of Fame angler, Gary Roach, for a number of years. And there were a number of years where I would spend probably 180, maybe 200 days a year on the water, taking people fishing, the Target buyer, the Fleet Farm buyer, whomever, entertaining these people on fishing trips. So yes, I have caught my fair share of walleyes.
That sounds like a fun job.
We got our own expert.
Yeah, we do. So, look, I'd like to start with Genevieve.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know her well enough to call her Jenny just yet, but how did a young lady like yourself get interested in fish and find your way to the Minnesota DNR?
That's a very funny question that I get asked a lot because it's kind of a it's a persistent joke among people who work in the hatcheries that are at least like my age and above, that a lot of us kind of like accidentally fell into hatchery work. Not all of us, but many of us, didn't set out on our fisheries careers with the goal of a hatchery sort of career in mind. What usually ended up happening was, in the summer we were looking for jobs, and you get a job, you work in a hatchery, and then a lot of people who end up sticking around in hatcheries and making a full career out of it are the ones who just found that it's something that they really liked. It's a lot different of a pace from fisheries management. It's very dynamic. It tends to attract a certain subset of people that are people who I very much adore. They're very like quirky and weird, but very ingenious and deep critical thinkers. So a lot of us kind of fell into the hatchery stuff from fisheries. Hopefully we can see that starting to change in the younger generations. We'll see how that plays out because hatcheries are becoming a much more common thing in the public, zeitgeist. We're thinking more about them. And so now I'm seeing, especially in community and technical colleges, they're actually offering coursework and degrees focused on hatchery management. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of the younger generation come in with sort of that desire to be in hatcheries from the start.
No doubt. You gotta hatch them before you can catch them.
Yeah.
Hey, look at there.
She just
Exactly.
described the path of probably 80% of the Mossy Oak employees.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Definitely,
if not more.
Definitely your path, my
Yeah.
path. Bobby, we flew Bobby in from Alabama later in his career, but besides that, Mitchell, he's a fresh hatchling right here.
You always did you grow up in a fishing family or anything? What led you to fish?
Actually, no, I did not at all. Like, I don't know exactly how I got to fish. The first time I ever fished, I think I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. I caught a snapping turtle on a piece of baloney bait, and it was very scary. We had to get a real angler who was just angling a little bit down ways on the shore to come help us de-hook it. But I've always kind of had a real affinity for water. So I've lived, a lot of places growing up, but I was born in Florida. And so I've always said that I've got that barefoot Florida blood in me. And just the water has always called to me. And so, when I was younger, I thought maybe I wanted to do marine biology. That wasn't exactly what I ended up deciding on, once I got into college, but I really got turned towards freshwater fisheries by one of my professors. And I was doing genetics, freshwater genetics in my undergrad, and I really, really enjoyed that. So that kind of is what pointed me more towards freshwater fisheries.
Cool.
Yeah. So look, I'm remembering here.
We're going to do the rapid
Why
fire
don't we
on time.
Yeah,
That's
let's
right.
learn a little bit about her. Let's ask her some rapid fires. Brought to you by our friends.
Nutrient Ag Solutions.
That's right. All right, Dudley.
Okay, Genevieve. So you may not be familiar with this, but we try to ask our guest about 10 questions, and we hope for a rapid fire response.
Okay.
We're just trying to get to know you better, but you don't have to answer yes or no every time. It can depend. So,
Okay.
are you ready?
Yes.
This pertains very much to Bobby's question. Do you think you've learned more in school or learned more by doing?
Doing. I am a hands-on person.
Have you ever eaten wild ramps
No.
or morels?
Yes.
Okay, so you're a forager from up there. Do you consider yourself an early bird, a night owl, both, or neither?
Night owl.
Have you ever gotten a tick-borne illness?
No.
Do you think hatchery fish caught in the wild taste different than fish that were born and raised in the wild?
I've never heard anyone say yes or no, so I guess not.
Okay. What is the coldest outside temperature you've ever experienced?
Oh, it gets cold up here. Probably like -30.
Oh. Ooh. Have you ever consumed a boiled peanut?
No.
We're going to send you some. We're going to send her some.
Do you even know what that is? Have you even heard of it?
Yes, I have. My sister is in, she's getting her doctorate down at LSU.
Okay.
Okay.
I have been secondarily introduced to some pieces of Southern culture. through her.
Okay. At what age did you realize you were so interested in fish?
I think it's just always been a part of me.
Okay. Name a month you could do without, and which
Oh,
month?
February. Easy.
And which month would you replace it with?
2nd May.
Okay. And last but not least, is it soda, Coke, cola, or pop?
Ooh, that is a very good question. I spent the bulk of my childhood in New England, so it is soda.
Soda. Good job. That was great.
I'm just gonna say I think soda is the appropriate word.
I think it is.
And I'm from the South.
I mean, didn't they used to call them like soda fountains or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at Mitchell. Mitchell's giving me a head nod. Bobby, you should remember this.
I don't
This
know.
is your era.
No, I do not remember soda
Soda pop.
fountains.
Soda
But we
pop.
grew up just calling everything a
Coke.
Coke.
Yeah. What
you
kind
know.
of Coke do you want? I'll have a Mountain Dew.
Right.
What?
It is confusing.
It is confusing. That's right.
Anyway,
Tomato.
good stuff.
Todd, we had sent you some bull peanuts. Have you had a chance to try them?
I haven't. What was kind of cool is reading the can, and it says, "Don't you remember those times you stopped by the roadside stand for boiled peanuts?" And I'm going, no, I'd never heard of these until about 3 months ago, and you know, I could turn around and ask you guys, did you ever stop by a roadside stand for cheese curds?
No, but
I have, but I was up your way.
yeah, we have a friend from Wisconsin that works for Russell Moccasins that sends us cheese curds.
Yeah, and our buddy
every
Sam.
Christmas.
Yeah, Sam Colored used to have them too. But we're gonna. That's our mission is to get more boiled peanuts in the north. That's exactly right.
They're
It's like
delicious.
southern edamame. Yeah, that's right.
Southern edamame.
Hey, you like that?
I like that.
I like that. There you go.
All right, so let's look at Genevieve. Can you kind of describe? Tell us your story. I hear you that what you're doing has just it's raised so. I mean, people are so proud of what the hatchery is able to do and what you've been able to do, and you've acquired this nickname. So, kind of tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so I have been every so often I'll get picked back up by the media because they want to hear about fish and fishing. It's a very popular outdoor sport,
Mm-hmm.
and the hatcheries are an integral part of like the whole DNR process of creating and perpetuating some of the fisheries that we have. And so occasionally the media will come through and want to talk to us. And so that happened very recently where my nickname, the Mother of Walleye, got the resurgence. But that nickname was given to me by Governor Walz when he came to visit in, I believe it was 2023. That was the year that the legislature was trying to give a big push for funding for the DNR, not just for hatcheries, but for a lot of our outdoor recreation programs. So that all went through, and now that essentially we have a lot more funding for like establishing things like boat launches, making sure that all of our trails and launches are accessible to everyone. And so that's kind of the governor came to promote that bill in 2023, and he just was very chuffed about the whole thing. He really enjoyed seeing all what was at the time walleye eggs there because he came in early spring and nobody had hatched yet. So he gave me the nickname Mother of Walleye, and that was about a year after I had started.
Okay. Well, I guess you could be Mother Muskie as well.
Yeah.
It's true.
So that's kind of like the Khaleesi on Game of Thrones. She was
He explicitly said he had Game of Thrones on the mind when he gave me the moniker. So
How about that?
Yep.
So in your hatchery, have you got like a bunch of big females that just stay there all the time and their sole purpose is to produce eggs, and you've got males and their sole purpose is to fertilize them?
that is not what we do for the muskie and the walleye. So what that is called like a brood stock. Any hatchery that keeps fish for making eggs, those fish are called the brood. And we do that in Minnesota for our cold water species, so all of our trout. But for the rest of the species that we raise, we actually go and collect wild eggs.
Very cool.
So is the walleye such a sought after fish in Minnesota that y'all have to add more back to the population to keep it sustainable?
It is definitely probably the most popular fish in the state. It is our state fish. We have a long legacy of fishing for walleye, and it's not always to supplement a lake, although we do that. But we'll also use some of those eggs to create and propagate new fisheries. So our goals are to be able to make sure that anyone who wants to fish has access to a resource where they can fish. Some people don't necessarily have the time or the equipment to be able to drive up north every time they want to go catch big muskie. Up north is what we call, driving into the northern part of the state where it's much more wooded. I was using colloquialisms. Especially like a lot of the families who live and work in the metro, they can't get out and go up north to fish every time they want to. So we will create fishing opportunities in the area for them to access. And by creating new opportunities and spreading them out, we're also decreasing the pressure on some of our other fisheries as well. So that will help pull some of those people who might have all gone to the same few lakes in the northern part of the state and spread that out, so we aren't actually hitting some of those natural populations as hard.
That's interesting. So the goal is incremental opportunities. And wow, that's really interesting. And you're actually going out in the wild and gathering up these eggs and then bringing them back to the hatchery?
Yep. So I don't do a lot of the actual spawning. It's a well-oiled machine with many moving parts that, usually happens early spring. We don't know ever exactly when, because it's up to Mother Nature to decide when all of this starts. But the state of Minnesota is divided into regions within the DNR, and then within the regions are areas. And some of the areas will have egg take sites for different species. And those egg take sites are on lakes and rivers that we know the fish naturally congregate, naturally migrate through to spawn. And we will take some of those fish, we will collect their eggs, and then we will release the fish back into the wild. There's always a put back quota for everywhere we take eggs from, because a lot of people, who see us taking eggs are concerned, oh, you're taking all of our eggs away. We don't ever take, even close to a significant number of the eggs that wild walleye will overall naturally produce. But then we always make sure that we will put some back into wherever the eggs are sourced from as well.
So can you help us explain how that process works?
I've been along a couple times when collecting eggs with the DNR. Way back in the day, I was probably 14, maybe 15 years old, a biologist by the name of Dick Sternberg. And this is a long time ago, because it was still when the Al and Ron Lindner owned the Inn Fishermen. They were along with my dad. And it was a little creek coming out of Mille Lacs. And I'll never forget seeing oh my gosh, there were, 6 to 13, maybe even 14 pound walleyes just stacked in this little creek. And then they just take them, they catch them and whoop out and push the eggs right out. And I'm assuming they do the same thing with the milk on the males. But it was a cool experience to witness.
It is.
Are they catching the fish? Are they netting the fish?
Usually netting.
Usually
we
netting,
do
okay.
sometimes do. You can do angling. It is the preferred method for fisheries workers. But that's just from a recreation standpoint.
We can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Definitely netting is. Netting or trapping are the most efficient. Occasionally, we'll use some of our big shocker boats as well.
Okay, cool. Makes sense. That's neat.
So the fish never leaves that body of water. Then are they
only long enough to squeeze the gametes out? That's it.
So is this really critical timing? Do these eggs have? Can you? I mean,
How quick you got to get back to the hatchery?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a very, very interesting process, and I try not to get too into the weeds with people about it, but maybe you guys will appreciate.
Hey, give it to us. We want to know.
Dudley loves weed.
A lot of people are asking, so do you transport them fertilized? Can you wait to fertilize them later? And I'm like, no, you have to do it on site. So the way that most fish eggs work, and all the ones that we work with in the DNR is there will be a really, really tiny hole in the egg called the micropyle. And that micropyle is only open for a very short period. Once the egg hits water, that micropyle starts to close. So when the egg is inside of the female, it's not in water. It's kind of in something more like a saline sort of fluid. And simultaneously, the milt, the sperm of the males, is immotile until it hits water. So in the male, it's in that more saline-like fluid. It hits the water, the sperm will actually start to swim. So 2 things are happening at once both the egg and the sperm hit the water. The micropyle is closing and the sperm is swimming. So the little sperm are trying to swim and get into that micropile before it closes up, and it takes about 60 seconds for that micropile to close.
Oh wow! So
Whoa.
they got to be there. Yeah.
Yep. So when we fertilize eggs, we will actually squeeze the eggs out into a dry bowl, and then squeeze the milk on top of the eggs, and then we put water on it to activate that whole process.
What? That seems like it'd be a lot more successful than it would in the wild if they put them in a bowl, you know?
Yeah.
Well, usually, the male and the female in the wild are right on top of each other, so
gotcha.
they are excreting their gametes
At the same
basically
time.
into the same exact spot.
So is there a window of a few days that my question is, these eggs, or do they have to be just right? Or do you have a window there that you can, if we can catch them this Saturday or all the way to next Saturday, it works, or does it have to be a specific day?
The day doesn't really matter, but it does matter for the timing of transport, because once that fertilization occurs, you got to kind of let the egg harden up a little bit before you can drive it. Otherwise, they're too fragile.
Oh.
And, people debate on what exactly the best timing is. Most agree that usually between 1 and 4 hours from post-fertilization is when you want to be doing the transport, because they'll get hard, but then after a few days, they'll kind of start to get a little bit softer again as the eggs develop. And you can certainly transport them when they're a little bit softer, but it's just a bit more risky.
Yeah. So y'all throw these in those bowls in a tank of some kind and then head to the hatchery?
Usually it goes from the bowl to like a bag that is very, very well sealed. And then the bag is placed into a tank or a cooler, and then you just take them for a drive.
And do you you keep all those eggs to go to the fish, but you were talking about putting the male and the females back. Okay.
Okay,
Yep,
so I'm dying to know about like the differences between muskies and walleye. But you probably need to continue with the process of, you get them to the hatchery, and then maybe you can explain the differences between the two, because I did a little bit of homework, and you raise way fewer muskies, but it seems like a more difficult process. So.
Yep. So how we've worked it out in Minnesota, there's fancy people who've crunched all the numbers, and it has been determined that for the walleye, because of the sheer quantity of eggs we can produce, we don't need to keep them for a very long time. So the exact purpose of a hatchery, can vary depending on which hatchery it is. Some of them are conservation based. Some of them are like growing food. Mine is more focused on creating angling opportunities. But overall, across the board, the net benefit of a hatchery, regardless of its goals, are that a hatchery will reduce or remove certain elements that can cause mortality. Like in the wild, the eggs have to worry about getting preyed upon by small things, and then juveniles, sunfish will absolutely go a hammer at juvenile fish, and other species as well. But so predation is a big one that they have to worry about in the wild. You don't have to worry about that in a hatchery. So the longer you keep a fish in a hatchery, the less you reduce that risk for predation. But they've run the cost benefit because we can produce so many eggs. We don't really, like the math works out that we can just make a whole bunch of eggs, and even if only a small percentage survive, that still hits our goals.
Gotcha.
For the muskie, the numbers say something a little bit different. It makes more sense for us to keep muskies longer, make them bigger before we release them. So the muskie, I don't just keep them until they hatch and then send them out the door like I do with the walleye. The muskie I will keep and I will raise intensively, which is indoors, until they are about 2 to 2.5 inches in size. And then most of them will go into extensive rearing at some other area offices or some other hatcheries in the state, and they will be raised through the winter or up. We've started a new program where we used to raise them to the fall, but now we found that the data shows that it's even better for us to raise them through the winter to spring. So we're starting to slowly transition to that new regime as well.
So the walleye go out the door pretty quick.
So, in what situation? I believe, and Genevieve, correct me if I'm wrong here. Tiger muskies are hybrids, so they don't reproduce in the wild.
Yes.
So, in what situation would you be specifically using tiger muskies in a lake as opposed to a regular muskie?
Yeah, that's a great question. We do tiger muskies in a few lakes, mostly in the Twin Cities metro area, because they for a couple reasons. They are a good catch, so I'm told. They put up a pretty decent fight. They are much more aggressive, like their pike ancestry. And the nice part is actually that they're infertile, so we don't have to worry about accidentally booming their populations out of control. So we can regulate those fisheries pretty closely while still creating an opportunity for people, especially people in the metro who can't necessarily go to those farther lakes that might make bigger fish, to fish locally and try to catch, a really nice prize fish.
Yeah, a muskie is a trophy fish.
Yeah, it's a big
I mean,
fish.
there are people that just target just muskies.
Oh yeah.
So once these walleye go out the door, is it only going to public areas, or can the private people get them and restock, or is that some kind of thing, or is it mostly for the public resource?
Right. We do not put them into privately owned lakes. We do actually sell some of our eggs and fry to private vendors.
Okay.
And then if somebody wants to, buy walleye for their lakes, they would go through a private vendor to do that.
And do walleye have to have running water or deep water? What are some kind of the key things that they have to have that make good walleye habitat?
Well, yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, definitely they tend to prefer at least some areas that are murky or deeper. You've kind of tipped right on one of our main talking points about walleye in the DNR is we do recognize that there are differences within different genotypes of walleye and sort of their overall preferred habitats. The state is split up into what we call genetic management units for walleye. And one of the newest ones that we're developing, and I put developing in quotes because we're not making it, evolution made it, we're just identifying it as important now, is this strain is called the Lower Mississippi strain. And so basically it kind of occupies the lower third part of the state of Minnesota, everything below the St. Anthony waterfall in Minneapolis. And these are the fish that do really well in the southern part of the state, which, for those who are unfamiliar with the geography, is definitely lakes that are much more big, wide, shallow, wind-swept lakes. And then we do have several different genetic management units up north, and those walleye tend to be the ones that do better in those bigger, really cold, deeper lakes up north.
Well, that's
So, but
Adaptation. It's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean,
like ecotypes with plants, right?
just like
Exactly.
ecotypes with plants.
you got it, exactly. Yep, and so exactly which habitats walleye want, it can depend on what genetics you're getting. You can artificially create some of that if you really want to promote walleye in your lake, but generally they need to have somewhere that's a little bit murky or deeper. They tend to retreat to those areas during the really brightest parts of the day because they have very sensitive eyes. And for it to be a persistent, a self-sustaining population, they usually tend to prefer faster moving waters for reproduction.
I'm glad that you mentioned that about their eyes, because whenever you see photos of them, they look like they're blind or something. They've got a funny looking eye. Is that? I guess that's
murky water, maybe.
And is that why they called walleye? What's going on? Who came up with that? What a kind
It
of
probably does harken back to why they're named a walleye. My fun fact about that is that layer is called the tapetum lucidum, and it is structurally almost the same as the layer of tissue in a cat's eye that help a cat see very well in the dark. So when you take a picture of a cat, their eyes glow back.
yeah.
So,
Same thing.
I mean, he's a
Basically happened
predator,
to walleye.
He's got the predator eye for sure. And you told us this as we started about, what's the real name for a walleye, though?
So I just looked it up. The
Yeah.
walleye's Latin name is Sander vitreus.
Yes, that's what I'm saying here too. That's why I was confused. I was like,
Latin word vitreous means like glass or glassy. It
Oh,
refers to the walleye's set of eyes.
walleye.
Straight from Google.
Everything on the internet is true. Y'all know that.
Of course.
Yeah.
If you've got one of these big females,
Yeah.
how many eggs would come out of it? Is it thousands or is it millions? And then extrapolate that. How do you know how many eggs you've got there at your hatchery? Is it just how do you count those?
Right. No, that is a really good question. So the general rule of thumb is about 1,000 eggs per pound of fish. So, go from there however you wish. Although we tend to use that a little bit more for muskie than walleye, but it's still roughly true. And counting them is, we don't count them by hand because that would be a very laborious process. Of course, when there's millions of eggs. So we do estimate. And there are a couple different ways that you can estimate the number of eggs in that you have in a hatchery. There's a displacement method. There's one called the von Baer method. Those are the two main ones that I use. And they tend to get pretty close to the actual marker. So
In a typical summer, how many millions of walleye do you think you're raising?
a normal year would probably be about 15 million or so.
Wow. That's a lot of fish.
It is a lot of fish. Yeah.
This year was low. I did about 6 million. The year prior was really high. I did 40 million. So.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of variation. What was that variation because of?
Along those same lines, then, how does the hatchery balance production with conservation, and how do you determine where do those fish go? Or maybe that's not your department in the hatchery, but do you just produce as many as you can, or are those goals set ahead of time? They have a place that they're going to.
Oh yeah, yep. So this process does not start with me. It begins much earlier. There are people that we have on staff whose basically whole job is to determine what fish need to go where, how many we need to produce to hit those targets, and which hatcheries are going to be producing for which areas. So it's a whole thing.
And what do you think what do you attribute the variation in the production from last year to this year? 6 million to 40 million, that's a big swing.
It is, absolutely. We will sometimes shuffle eggs around depending on, where it makes the most sense for areas to pick them up. So I didn't start with 6 million. I started probably closer to 12 or 14 million. But then about halfway through the development, I offloaded a lot of those to a different hatchery that is a little bit closer for some of the other area offices to drive to and pick up their eggs.
Okay, but you were still raising them then.
Yeah. Yep. We say that, we raise about 300 to 330 million walleye eggs as a state agency every year.
Wow.
Holy cow.
So do you prefer the walleye over the muskie, or is there one you like better?
Well, the walleye is certainly easier for me because they hatch and then they're gone. So that's nice. The muskie, because I have them for longer, it's definitely a lot more work, a lot more effort. The flip side of that is I get paid for longer, which is nice.
Job security.
Yeah, they can be quite a finicky species to raise. Muskie basically need to always have food available to them because when the urge strikes for them to eat, if there isn't any of your desired food placed in front of them, they will eat whatever is available, which is their siblings. So they are
Hungry
a
little
very
jokers.
cannibalistic species.
What do y'all feed them?
At what size do you put them? Do you let them go? How long do you opt them for?
Both questions. We feed them a dry-based diet. It's kind of just like a pellet sort of meal. It looks like if you took dog food and scaled it down really, really, really fine.
Yeah.
And that's usually just it's a very lucrative business in and of itself, just a hatchery diet. and that's usually just bycatch or scraps from other fish-based industries. When I release the muskie from my hatchery, they're about 2 to 2.5 inches in size. Some of them will go right out into the wild, but most of them will go into what we call rearing or holding ponds to grow further. And then actually we're getting into, I was asked to have a trivia question, and now we're getting close to my trivia question.
Oh, good.
Oh,
All
be
right.
careful.
Listen up.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, I don't want to tell you how big they are yet in the fall, because I was going to have you guys guess that later.
Good
Oh.
question. All right.
Yeah. I tell you, the walleye, Lanny, I mean,
Bobby.
people in Minnesota, Wisconsin, they are crazy about these fish.
Oh, no doubt. There's a whole industry, walleye boats, walleye tournaments. I mean, it's akin to, I mean, I guess crappie maybe now.
Everybody says they taste a little better than crappie. And
I
crappie is
have
like my
eaten 'em.
favorite.
I like them.
You like it?
Yeah, I like them.
So let's ask Todd. Todd, what is it about walleye that everybody enjoys fishing for them? Is it the sport?
Have
Are
you
they
ever
fight?
eaten one?
I have, and it's delicious.
Have you ever eaten one?
I think so.
I have, and it's delicious.
Well, it must not have been prepared very well then, Bobby, if you don't remember. But that's why they're just delicious. They don't have the fishy taste to them.
Yeah.
Light, flaky, easy. Not a lot of bones like in a northern. There's so many bones, the Y bones and stuff in there are hard to get out. They're easy to prepare. They're just delicious.
Do they fight good? Are they a good sport fish?
They're okay. I mean, you get some bigger ones. It's not the ferocious fight like you get with a muskie or northern. However, that's not very long lived like it is with a largemouth or smallmouth bass. The fight on a muskie is much doesn't last that long like it does on some other fish. But yeah, they're okay.
Yeah.
They bend a rod.
Do they have? Is there a particular slot or a size or a creel limit or anything, or is that dependent on maybe the GMU or the units up there?
Water bodies, yeah. The regulations do vary a lot, water body to water body. So that's why we always recommend people have their either the regs on their phone or one of the booklets that we give out.
Yeah, read those regulations. Isn't that right, Bobby?
So Bobby may know more than me on this. I think I overheard that we have a population of walleye.
Yeah, I was about to. You kind of stole my thunder there.
Okay,
I
well,
was
go ahead with it.
I was going to say, Genevieve, here in Mississippi, where we are, there is the Luxapalala Creek is a really deep, cold creek, and it's got native walleye in it.
And we have a fish that I've always been wondering about, and we talked about it a little earlier. We call it a sauger,
That's right.
and I think it's somewhat akin to the
They
walleye.
look very similar.
Yep, they
and-
are sister species.
They are sister species.
And then there's the saw guy.
ah.
Yep,
Oh, there's
they
one.
can hybridize, and that's a
Oh.
saw guy.
Huh.
So, where do you think? Are we about as far south as this fish exists? Because we don't. The walleye itself, I know a handful of people that have caught them. I've seen photos, and I know this is for real. But are there other southern states this far south that have them?
Yeah, yes. Walleye tend to localize around the sort of the Mississippi and its tributaries, especially in the South. So now I'm pulling back from some of my knowledge from undergrad. I did a lot of work on walleye genetics. And in the South, actually, those are some of the oldest walleye genetics that exist, because up north in historic times, as the glaciers kept pushing and receding repeatedly, the landscape in the uplands and midlands changed. The South was a little bit more stable once it reached its current size. And so the walleye genetics down there are actually some of the oldest that we have. So there's probably some really, really interesting, really, really pretty walleye down there.
It is. We need to go try to catch
need to
some
catch
of those.
one.
I don't
Yeah.
even think you can keep them, but we should go try
should
to
catch
catch them.
Yeah. I was in Minnesota one time and caught a big walleye, and I thought I had hooked up like a log. I mean, it really didn't like run
Didn't just-
off, or
yeah.
it kind of came up kind of.
But don't a lot of
think
people
Todd kinda
fish
referenced that.
deep with those downriggers and a little bit heavier equipment?
We were jigging, and it was in
okay.
deep water. They were vertical jigging.
Meat hauling. But I mean,
Hey, that's right
sounds
up
like
my alley.
I know.
Genevieve, these fish are amazing, and the muskie really seems like it's kind of an industry all to itself. There are people that are just musky, have musky fever, and aren't y'all trying? Isn't there a real? I mean, these serious muskie fishermen, they're so gentle with these fish. They've got specialized nets. They bring them in. They measure them, measure the weight and girth, and there's just there's a lot of pleasure in taking a photo and releasing that fish and that fish going on and live. You don't see many people keep big muskies, do you?
Some people will keep them for trophy. I mean, I think that for a lot of muskie anglers, the thrill is really just getting that big catch. Because, I mean, a big muskie is absolutely massive. 50 plus inches, certainly they can be. We have been seeing recently, there was always been interest in muskie angling, but we are starting to also see that increase as well. So our quotas for how many muskie that we put out every year is increasing too.
And do y'all have bodies of water that y'all manage for trophy fish?
Yes.
Lanny, we got to go do that at some point.
100%.
Yeah.
I want to hear a story. Have you ever caught or
Todd, you've got a great muskie story.
Yeah, he does.
Why don't you tell that real quick?
Well, you were with me.
Well, I
You
know
know
that's
this
why I know
story.
it's a good
Everybody
story.
on the
You saved me.
podcast would.
This was just after I had gotten out of the hospital after I broke my back. And so I couldn't easily, the fish of 10,000 casts, as you may have heard, I couldn't sit there all day long and keep up with the other guys. And I looked like I was brilliant guessing exactly when the muskie would bite, because I bet you I sat there and I was just watching Bobby cast most of the day and the other guy in our boat. And finally, I just kind of looked over the side and said, yeah, it looks about right now. And I only casted probably 6, maybe 10 times. And I had a follow come in. It was maybe a 30, 35 inch fish. And I did a figure 8. It didn't take, and it took off. And I casted right in front of where I thought it was going to be. And the fish I ended up catching hit was 53 and a half inches, 27 inches around.
Wow.
AI says it would have weighed between 47 and 51 pounds. But the fight, I don't know, Bobby, what would you say? Maybe lasted 8-10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And again, I'm a paraplegic, just got out of the hospital. And Bobby, I fell out of my chair. The fish yanked me right out of my chair. Bobby grabbed me by my belt and put me back in the chair to finish it. And those guys, Bobby and the other angler in the boat, convinced me to keep the fish. I at first, boy, I wanted to let it go, and then they're both saying, "Man, this is like a Boone and Crockett whitetail." So it's on my wall
Lovely.
today. So
Well, yeah. So the other angler was Bruce Udala. He had taken us up there. It was a great trip. But Genevieve, we got in the boat like at daylight, and through these plugs were about a foot long, great big plugs. We threw them all day. I think I've had Tommy John injury with my elbow all day casting these things. So you've never heard of Tommy John? Yeah, it's an elbow injury that athletes get. So the guide in the boat said, we started fishing at daylight, and he made the comment, about the time the moon hits the top of those trees, it's probably going to be good. Well, that was going to be like late in the afternoon, but we fished all day long casting these things.
Yeah.
And then when that moon got close to those trees, then Todd gets up.
Broke the rod out. Time to show y'all
Yeah.
boys how to do this.
And sure enough, that moon touched those trees, and he caught that. It was huge. It was
I
incredible.
bet y'all were going crazy.
What a
It
great
was.
story.
I had to hold his belt the whole time. It would have pulled him in.
There we go.
It was a lot of fun.
Well, interesting enough, I was just looking when you mentioned that about, I was doing a little Googling here on walleye, and not the Lux, but actually they restocked 54,000 Gulf Coast strain. I guess that's what you were talking about, Genevieve. Walleye into the Buttahatchee River at Gatman. So for Mississippi and Alabama anglers. So you don't even have to go south of the lock. You can go right here and try it.
We should try that
We should, yeah. It's pretty interesting.
Let's do it.
All right.
Lots of western states have good populations as well. You go out to Washington, Oregon, Montana. The Dakotas have some amazing fisheries there.
I wonder if they got them from y'all. Let's see if I can find out.
You know, Genevieve, that tiger muskie, the markings on it, Lanny, it is
They're
like
beautiful.
really cool
Has
looking
it got
fish.
stripes on it?
Yeah, well,
Like a tiger?
Yeah, they kind of do. I think that's where they got them. They're really neat looking fish. So Genevieve, do you ever do you have like an interest in going fishing after doing all this?
It's funny. I don't actually fish that much in my spare time. I have interacted with more muskie than probably even the most elite muskie angler could ever say they have. Now, certainly mine aren't, absolutely massive, but after spending, all day, every day, and, during the actual season that I have the fish online, it is sometimes quite literally all day, every day. After spending all that time with the fish, I don't tend to drift towards them in my free time.
So are you presently becoming anxious about being away from your fish for close to an hour?
So right now, actually, my hatchery is closed for the season. I have already gone through the whole process and released my little 2.5-inch fish. And my big focus right now is on the state fair, which Todd will understand is a very, very big deal up here. And one of the, I like to think, largest attractions at the state fair is the DNR has a whole campus, and in the backyard of the campus there is a fish pond, and I am responsible for bringing the fish and maintaining their health during the fair.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah,
That is cool.
Those state fairs are a lot of fun when you're a kid.
They really are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
Going and seeing all that.
It's very educational. Very educational.
Is that the way the Neshoba County Fair is? Is it educational?
That is not like a state-run fair.
Oh, okay.
That is like a huge house party.
Oh, okay.
But the state fair, they have a 4-H and all that, and yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah,
can-
it's the whole thing.
Bring
And
in your bulls.
Minnesota State Fair is the second largest state fair in the country. Texas gets that title by sheer numbers, but
Of course.
Texas's state fair is twice as long, and we only have usually about 250,000 to 500,000 fewer people that come to ours. So
yeah.
in reality, we know which state has the biggest state fair.
We should,
All
go,
right.
we should go to that, too.
All right, let's not get controversial here.
You heard her.
Genevieve.
You heard her.
So I
That's not a little competition.
I just want to circle back, and understand this in my mind. You guys, as biologists, y'all go to one of these tributaries, and there are these big females. You pull one out of the water, and do you ever say she's not quite ready? These eggs need another 2 weeks or 10 days, or do you just go with it as whatever you get?
Nope. So we do know when they are and are not ripe, as we say, and when they're unripe, they are green fish, and it's usually not. We're usually not getting in so early that it's like 2 weeks. It's maybe like a couple days. You can tell really easily, usually, when a fish is ready to spawn, because if you just give them the lightest squeeze on their abdomen, on the lower part of their body, they'll squirt out gametes pretty easily. So it's quite obvious when a fish is ready to spawn.
Okay. I would that. I'm just kind of amazed by how all this we figured out a way to help Mother Nature.
Oh,
so to
no,
speak.
that's gamekeeping right there, 100%. I mean, just, the fact that she's creating more opportunities for people or part of that process
Yes.
is very forward thinking, for sure. So,
How about water temperatures, Genevieve? So I would guess that you have people all over the state checking water temps, and if I recall from what I learned as a kid, about 44 to 48 degrees is when they typically will spawn in the basement in your basement, what are you replicating that temperature there, or do you want it warmer when after the eggs are present?
Yeah, so in the wild, like what temperature the fish actually spawn at can be a little bit variable because the fish are looking at other factors as well. The amount of daylight is also an important determinant for when the fish are ready to spawn. When you get really far north into Minnesota, the presence of ice on the lake can also affect when the fish are ready to spawn or if they can access spawning areas. But the people who have been, working in the DNR for a long time, you kind of just after a while sort of get a feel for when the weather starts turning right. And then once you start to shift towards better weather, you'll start to go out and monitor the water bodies. You can take temperatures, you'll start looking for fish migrations,
Yep.
and then when the time is right. In the hatchery, I keep my water as cold as I can until the fish get there, which I draw water from the ground. I have well water, so that is about 53 degrees. And then once I have all of the eggs in the hatchery, I'll start cranking that temperature up just a little bit every day. Because fish develop faster when it is warmer. But on the flip side, I'm also not trying to go so fast and exceed outdoor temperatures by so much that it would be bad when we put the fish back into the wild. So I'm also communicating with the areas and saying, hey, what are your water temperatures right now? Because some years I will bring that temperature all the way up to like 60 degrees. And like this year, our water stayed cold for a really long time, especially farther north. And I only probably pulled the fish up to like 50 or 55.
What about oxygen? So are you using just fish tank diffusers like anyone could buy at the pet store, or do you have a different system?
We do. That would be scaling that up to the size that I need would be quite the Herculean effort. I
Right.
certainly do need to oxygenate my water. That is a good pull. So because I am drawing water from the ground, some of the benefits are I don't have to worry about the inclusion of pathogens like if I was pulling from a lake or from the Mississippi River per se. That's a big risk when you're taking surface water in. The downside of a well is that you can have higher levels of heavy metals and you tend to be quite low in oxygen. So one of the ways that you can oxygenate water is the easiest way is just you mix it up. You make a waterfall, really easy. You break that water up, and then as the water is cascading through whatever you're breaking it through, it will oxygenate. And then you can also supplement that if you want by having oxygen stones or air infusers. I don't need to do that.
Sure.
How about that? So look, why don't we ask her the trivia question?
Okay.
We got that. Mitchell, let's turn it over to you. Let's see what you got.
Well, before we get started, who brings the trivia question?
Dudley.
I know.
How many cans of boiled peanuts did you eat
I thought
last
Mitchell was.
week?
I think we ate like 1 to 2 cans a day.
It's been incredible.
We're supposed to be giving them away, and I think we ate them all.
They are so delicious. Yeah, the peanut patch. You go by any convenience store here in the South, Genevieve, and they sell boiled peanuts, and you just scoop them out. It's a treat.
It's kind of
Gotcha.
I don't guess you can see the cauldron behind you.
There is a pot right there. I don't know if you can see it.
I'm going to figure out how to take one of those things to a football game this year to a tailgate.
Well, all you got to do is throw it in your truck.
Yeah. Hook it up to the generator and keep it warm.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Be good when October rolls around.
Who won our prize this week?
Quail Dog on Spotify commented, "Great podcast. I don't coon hunt, but I do hunt with my dogs. I would guess quail. And this one
good
made
guess.
my eyes sweat. Nothing like the love of a hunting dog."
Hey,
Oh,
dogs
yeah,
and
that's
hunting go
right.
hand in
Yep.
hand,
Yeah,
man.
they do.
Coon dogs,
This-
rabbit dogs, deer dogs, duck dogs.
All of them.
Pointers don't need to leave any of them out.
Yeah.
So the
All right.
trivia question: in what state is the world record walleye?
What state? Looking at you, Genevieve. And hold your hands up so you can't Google, please. We want to make sure we.
I have a couple going through my head right now that I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna give a shout out to the state my parents live in. I'm gonna guess Missouri.
Ooh.
Now,
Nope.
Let's give her one more guess.
Yeah,
Let's
get
give
another
her-
guess.
It wasn't Missouri. Give
Can
her.
I get a hint? Should I
Yeah.
go north or south?
I
Yeah.
think you need to go east,
East.
just a little bit.
Oh.
Maybe
Interesting.
east, southeast.
Yeah,
just
southeast.
barely south. Kind of
gotta-
a long-looking state.
I've got to
Tennessee.
There she
There it
killed
is.
it. There
How
it is.
I didn't know that. How about
I didn't
that?
either. I thought I wouldn't have ever guessed.
What do you
Tennessee.
weigh?
Go ahead.
So it was in Old Hickory Lake in Tennessee at 25 pounds, 41 inches.
41 inches. That's a
So,
stud.
reading about it, it was entered, I forget what year. It then got disqualified, and then they went back and were like, well, there's no evidence against it, so they reinstated it as the world record.
1960.
There it is.
Yeah. What's your state record up there, Genevieve?
Todd might know better than I do.
I don't
Oh
know.
my goodness.
I'll find out.
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah,
idea what her state record is.
Lanny, would you look that up?
And
please?
Lanny, that's not a stud.
Seven-
That's a girl. That's a heavy lady fish.
17 pounds, 8 ounces.
Minnesota.
1979 in the
Wow.
Seagull River. 35 3/4. Now that's what Google says. You know everything on the internet is true.
Yeah.
call me the negative guy, but I don't know. Does that 1960 fish deserve an asterisk by it?
It does have one.
Okay. All right.
Why?
There's a
y'all-
photo
I don't
want to
hurt
It's
anybody's
proof.
feelings of the family or whatever.
Oh,
but
is it? Is the okay?
I don't know.
I don't know. This is my first time
I
stumbling.
wonder
on
what
it.
second place is. I'm
Let's
guessing
look.
it's a distant second.
Let's look.
My guess was Ohio. I don't know anything about walleye, but that was my guess.
Yeah. But I don't either. I didn't know.
What would I say? World record walleye runner-up or something?
Yeah. What's the second largest walleye?
You know,
I think Genevieve may be correct. Missouri might. I know they've got some big fish there in certain places.
Hey, Google is saying the second heaviest walleye was 22 pounds, 11 ounce, caught in Greer's Ferry Lake, Arkansas.
whoa.
Yeah.
Well, that is a really deep, Bull Shoals, Greer. Those are deep lakes, cold.
So the 22 pounds versus how many?
25.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
they tend to they need some depth or some murkiness, otherwise they'll get basically blinded during the day.
Reckon how many fillets you can get? Several.
I don't know, but I wanna-
25
I wanna
pound
go.
walleye. I
Yeah.
do too.
So there is a restaurant that serves walleye. What is the name of that, Mitchell?
Culver's.
Oh, Culver's.
Where
Certain
is it?
times of the year they do walleye fillets, just because it's a Midwestern company.
I think I've
It's
had it.
from Wisconsin, a very north central. Culver's is a classic fast food place.
Oh, they got the
Is it?
custard, don't they?
Yes.
Oh, that stuff's
Yeah.
good. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Can we get one more yes in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
They got.
Yeah,
is that
sure,
butter
we'll get you
burgers
some
too?
walleye.
Yeah. Butter
It's actually
burgers.
one of the funniest or most bemusing parts of moving to Minnesota and becoming ingrained in the culture, especially when you move up north. Your question was like, which restaurant serves walleye? Well, the answer up here is about every single one.
Yeah.
And a lot of the
all
ones
do.
when you go up north, and there's a lot of people who recreate up there angling, they'll have on the menu, bring your own walleye. And you can bring a fillet, and they will cook it up for you.
That's what I'm talking about.
How about that?
I know that's a game fish. So were they selling like farm raised
Yeah.
walleye
Have
at
to be.
restaurants and such?
A lot of them are netted in the bigger lakes.
So they are commercially
But
fished.
yes, some of them are farm raised as well.
Okay.
But they
So
are
it's like a
commercially fished.
commercial. Okay.
Yeah, no, that seems pretty correct to me. I think there's Todd, you can either corroborate or deny it, but I think there's also a lot happening up in Canada because Canada is
Oh, sure,
big
absolutely.
walleye.
Yes.
A lot of people in Minnesota will even bypass going up north and then just go straight to Canada to do their walleye fishing.
Well, I see a picture where somebody actually caught one on the Buttahatchee here.
How about
So,
that? Yeah.
There's your challenge.
Well, I know a lady.
Great angler.
I know a lady that caught one in the Luxor Island.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All
She,
right.
Pat Burwell. So, Genevieve, are you sure you want to ask us a trivia question? Because we're
Yeah.
100%. Nobody has
Oh,
ever stumped
God.
us.
Why do you always say that?
So, what makes you think you can stump us,
Oh,
Genevieve?
gosh.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Okay.
Take it
My
easy
question
on
is
us,
about muskies.
Genevieve. We
Yeah,
like our record.
Let's do this.
All right, here we
Okay,
go.
so when a muskie is an egg, it is about the size of the head of a tacking pin, like a tacking needle. You know those sewing needles that have the little bulb heads on them?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's about the size of a muskie egg. In the fall, how big is a muskie on average?
You
So
gotta
in the
guess.
spring, it's the egg. In the fall, it has grown to what size?
Oh, the fish itself, not the egg.
Yes.
I'm
Yes, the
gonna
egg is no longer an
guess-
egg, it is a fish.
All right.
All right.
Go ahead.
So we're looking at approximately 6 months growth on your muskie chow that you feed
Just
them.
about.
Is that what you're asking?
They've probably had about 3 months on muskie chow, 3 months on some really delicious fatheads, some other bait fish.
I got an idea.
What's your idea, Bobby?
12 inches. is my
12
guess.
inches for Todd.
So we all get a say. So I was gonna go 5.5.
5.5 inches.
That's right.
I'll
That's
take
Bob.
6.
Mitchell, where you at, buddy?
I'll do 8.
So what do we have to get within a half inch or something?
Well, let's
No.
What about
I can
Lanny? What about
if
Lanny?
those are the locked in answers,
we got
there's
one more, Genevieve.
We're probably
I'm gonna
all
go
wrong.
with the odds, and I'm gonna say you got 5.5, and you're 6, and you're 12. What are you, Dudley?
Well, I said 6.
You're 6.
Kind of regretting that, but we'll keep
Well,
it.
Mitchell said 6. No, what'd you say, Mitchell?
8.
8. My bad. All right. Okay. I'm gonna say because I don't think they're 12. I'm gonna say 4 inches.
Interesting.
closest without going over was Mitchell. They are about 10 to 11 inches.
Oh my goodness, Mitchell! How about that?
Go, Mitchell.
But who's closest?
Todd was closest at 12, but he
That
did
is
go
true.
over.
But the price is wrong, Todd. You
Yeah.
went over the number.
Yes, I went over.
So I think we, as a group, we answered that question. I think we got
Yeah,
pretty close.
I
there.
think so.
Yeah.
And that's
We'll
it
take
kind
it.
of leads me into a little secondary point.
Ooh.
One of the other reasons we do tiger muskies is because they will actually be closer to 12 to 14 inches in the
Wow.
fall.
In 6
So
months.
they grow faster. And the eggs are the same exact size.
How about that?
Man.
Yep, so they grow really, really quick. They have what we call hybrid vigor.
We know all about that
That
in the
would
world.
be heterosis.
Yeah.
Heterosis.
We talk about that all the time in the plant world.
Well, Genevieve Furtner, you are an interesting person to
Very,
talk to.
very good to talk to you, Dave. Very
Yeah.
enjoyable
We learned a lot.
conversation.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having
we
me.
did.
Yeah,
I've
and,
got a huge appreciation for walleye and muskie now.
There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on.
Yeah, and what the DNR is doing up there too, to create more opportunities for people. That's really good to see, and they've got a lot of obviously resources behind it. So yeah, good work.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. And I implore you guys and everyone listening to, Minnesota's not the only state that is raising fish. Check out what your state's doing. A lot of hatcheries will sometimes do tours. So,
Yeah.
find a hatchery near you, state or federal, and call and see if you can go see what they're doing.
That's great.
I think the one in Tupelo is a federal hatchery, 40 miles north of
I
here.
toured the Little Red River hatchery when I was younger in Arkansas.
Yeah.
How
Really
about
cool experience.
that? Yeah, Todd, are you look like you're texting somebody? Todd, are we boring you here, or what? You?
No, I was texting you.
well,
yeah.
I'm right here.
That is
Todd.
definitely boring.
I'll stop. Sorry.
Well, Genevieve, thank you so much.
Yeah,
And-
thanks for being here
And
today.
look, Minnesota's a great state. We
Yes.
just appreciate what you're doing for anglers up there.
Thank you.
Nope, that is awesome. All right, guys, it's been a
Very
lot of
good.
fun.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Have we got anything? Guys, right now we just started this Nosler rifle giveaway, so you can go sign up at MossyOakGamekeeper.com giveaway.
Yeah, you can either subscribe to the newsletter, follow the podcast, several different ways to enter, but we're going to be giving that thing away in November. It's a custom rig all the way around in bottomland. So go to MossioGamekeeper.com and click on the GK giveaway tab.
That's one of the smoothest rifles it is the smoothest rifle I've ever cycled.
Yeah.
It,
I wondered, because once you just took it to test it out, we've never seen it again.
yeah, well,
Imagine that.
he just made that up.
Genevieve, you would enjoy following our podcast. Last week we did one with this young man named Peter Franks that's canoeing the loop. In
backwards, canoeing
yeah,
the loop
he's
backwards.
like 400
great
days
loop.
into this.
It's the great loop backwards. Yeah.
And
I saw this weekend where he was in Kentucky.
yeah,
So moving on up.
yeah.
So he started way up close.
Lake Superior,
Okay.
I think. One of the big ones
And
up
then
there.
went east.
East, yep.
And then down.
Yep. And then came down the East Coast.
And then got up the intercoastal to the Tin Tom,
Yep, to the-
Tennessee,
yep.
Kentucky. And then he's going to come in on the Mississippi River and then paddle upstream.
Yeah, he's got to go upstream the Mississippi.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Pretty
He's gonna have
hardcore.
Yeah, he's hardcore.
He's going to be absolutely muscled up by the end of that.
Oh, he already is. I mean,
think he was-
totally
I bet.
unsupported.
Yeah, he's doing it
I
all.
bet.
Just by the support of the community. I think he's burning, we say,
Wow.
8,000 calories a day.
He is. It's a real interesting podcast. You would probably enjoy it, Genevieve.
Yeah.
All right, I'll look into you.
All right, guys. This has been fun. Why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Mitchell.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast. And be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.